Hello friends, I'm George, the nice medic gentleman. Just recently I did a series of videos where I showed you designer and niche fragrances that were great in the spring season. And now it's time for my cheapy spring season list where I'll show you I think a total of 16 fragrances today. Quite a lot of fragrances to cover, so I'll try to be as quick as possible. I'll group the fragrances in this video based on the fragrance house that makes them, and I'll start with a fragrance from the house of Rasasi because this is going to be the only Rasasi shown in this video, the Rasasi Fatan. For those who don't know, this is a fragrance that's based around the note of vetiver. In the opening you get a nice citrusy opening mixed with a bit of spices, and then on the dry down it's all about that vetiver, which is the backbone in this fragrance. It's accompanied by a bit of a patchouli, a bit of a cedar wood, and also a slight sweetness from an amber note. This fragrance is a very nice and cheap alternative to Terry d'Hermes. Performance here is above average, projection again above average, price tag really nice. The only drawback on this fragrance in my opinion is the bottle size, which this fragrance comes only in 50 ml bottle size. The next two fragrances are going to be from the house of Afnan. First one, the Afnan 9 p.m. This is a great alternative to Jean-Paul Gaultier's Ultra Mauve. Slightly different, especially in the opening. You don't get that sweet pear note like you get with the Ultra Mauve. Instead here you get an apple note, which is makes this fragrance, especially in the opening, feel slightly fresher, slightly more sparkling compared to Ultra Mauve. Dry down quite close to Ultra Mauve. Performance very good, projection very good, price tag very good, bottle shape in my opinion very good. Compliment factor super high. The next fragrance from the house of Afnan is going to be the Turati Blue. As the name would suggest, this is sort of a blue fragrance. It's a great alternative to Bulgari's Tiger. You get a nice fruity, citrusy opening, a very nice grapefruit note in here. And then on the dry down, you get a nice sort of an woody, sweet base. Very good performance, very good projection. I'll also show you an alternative to this fragrance later on from the house of Lattafa as well, but the Turati Blue has been one of my best discoveries so far this year. The next three fragrances are going to be from the house of Ajmal. The first one, the Ajmal Ambre Pimente. Very interesting, very unique scent profile, all about the spicy opening in here. You get a very nice cardamom note, a bit similar to what you get with La Nuit de l'Homme, although this is a bit stronger. And then on the dry down you're introduced with some additional sweetness apart from that that spicy opening. You get some woody notes in here as well. It's, as I said, very nice, very unique fragrance with a very good performance. Price tag on this one, if you look around you'll probably end up finding a good deal, although from what I've seen the price fluctuate really a lot, but I was luckily able to get this one for a very nice price. Also has a surprisingly high compliment factor with this one. The next Ajmal is going to be the Evoke Gold Edition. This is a fragrance that's heavily inspired by Prada L'Homme and Prada L'Homme Intense. To my nose, this is sort of a mix from those two fragrances. It's not as deep, as dense and rich as the Prada L'Homme Intense, but it also feels a bit heavier compared to the original Prada L'Homme. It's all about that soapy iris. There's a violet note in here, a bit of leather, some spices. It's sweet, it's clean, has this soapy feel to it. Very nice, very sort of a sophisticated and gentlemanly type of scent profile. Good for pretty much any type of occasion, good for office usage. Performance here again above average, projection above average, price tag. As with the Ambre Pimente, the price seems to fluctuate quite a lot. But if you look around enough, you'll probably end up finding a good deal on this fragrance. And the third Evoke fragrance, Ajmal fragrance in this video is going to be the Evoke Midnight Edition. Now this, unlike most of the fragrances that I showed you up to this point, is I think an original creation by the house of Ajmal. It's a blue, very interesting, very unique blue type of scent. It's all about a nice fruity opening, then a sort of a sweet, slightly spicy, fruity dry down. It's, as I said, very unique scent profile. I've never smelled anything like the Ajmal Evoke Midnight Edition. Performance here is almost bordering beast mode. Projection quite strong for 2 to 3 hours. Price tag, I think if you look around, you'll probably end up finding a really nice deal on this fragrance. So if you are into blue, spicy, fruity type of scents, the Evoke Midnight Edition I think is a great choice, and also the bottle color looks absolutely fantastic. Okay, so 6 fragrances down, 10 more to go. The next 6 fragrances are going to be from either from Lattafa itself or sub-brands of Lattafa. And I'm going to start with one fragrance from a sub-brand of Lattafa from Al Zafran, the Jazab Silver. Now this is a fragrance that's heavily inspired by Acqua di Gio and Acqua di Gio Profumo. It stands somewhere in between those two fragrances. In the opening, I think it's closer to the original Acqua di Gio. It feels that a little bit lighter, like the original Acqua di Gio. On the dry down, it gets a little bit closer to Acqua di Gio Profumo, although it lacks a bit of that smoky incense vibe that the Profumo has. There's some smoky vibes in here as well, but not as heavy as the ones in Profumo. Performance is about average. Projection, again, about average. The bottle looks nice from a distance, but when you look up closely it feels cheap. It's all plasticky, but that doesn't matter because the juice inside has quite a nice quality to it, and the price tag on this fragrance is usually dirty cheap, around $15. The next Lattafa sub-brand that I'm going to show you, a fragrance from a Lattafa sub-brand, is going to be from the Maison Alhambra, in this case the Maison Alhambra the Tux. Again, this I wouldn't call this one inspired or heavily inspired. I will call this one simply a clone of another fragrance. Of course, in this case, this is a great alternative to YSL Tuxedo. You get pretty close scent-wise to the original Tuxedo with the Tux from Maison Alhambra. In this fragrance is all about those spices in the opening and that patchouli and vanilla mix on the dry down. As I said, the Tux will get you very close scent-wise to the original Tuxedo. Performance is almost the same as the original Tuxedo. The bottle looks almost the same as the original Tuxedo. The only drawback of this fragrance is the fact that it comes in a 90 milliliter bottle size. Other than that, usually can be found for a really good price, around about $25 to $30. So if you like that original Tuxedo smell, scent, DNA, Maison Alhambra the Tux I think is the best alternative on the market. Next, from Lattafa itself, the Lattafa Sheikh Al Shouk Final Edition. This is a fragrance that's heavily inspired by another YSL fragrance, in this case the YSL EDP. Scent-wise is not super close to the original YSL EDP. Think of this fragrance as the older, more mature brother of EDP. You still get that fruity DNA, fruity vibe from this one, but this is a bit darker, a bit denser, it's a bit more spicy, and on the dry down it's a bit more woody. Great for guys that like the original YSL EDP DNA, but want something that will make them feel a bit more mature, or let's say a little bit older guys who like the YSL EDP. The price tag on this fragrance is an absolute joke, can usually be found for less than $20. Performance here above average, projection above average. The next fragrance from Lattafa is going to be again for the lovers of the YSL EDP DNA, but people who like something a little bit more sweeter compared to the original EDP, and this is going to be the Fakhar Black. Again, this is heavily inspired by YSL EDP, but this is a bit more fruity, a bit sweeter. And if the Sheikh Al Shouk Final Edition is the older brother of YSL EDP, then this is the younger brother of EDP. Performance and projection here are slightly above average. Price tag, this is a little bit more expensive compared to Sheikh Al Shouk Final Edition for some reason, I don't know why. I think it's because this got a lot of hype about half a year ago. But again, if you like that YSL EDP DNA but want something a bit sweeter, something with a bit younger feel to it, the Fakhar Black is a great alternative. The next Lattafa in this video is going to be the Lattafa Assad. Again, another fragrance that's heavily inspired by a designer fragrance, in this case the Sauvage Elixir. Another very hyped up fragrance, and I think for a good reason. This again feels to me like the a little bit older brother of the Sauvage Elixir. This is not as loud, not as spicy as the original Elixir. Uh, Feels a bit sort of slightly darker, slightly sweeter, a little bit more mature version, let's call it that way, to the original Elixir. Performance and projection, very nice. Price tag can usually be found for a good price around about $25 to $30. The last Lattafa fragrance in this video is going to be one from their Pride line, the Lattafa Silver. Now this is pretty much the Lattafa's alternative or take on the Bulgari's Tiger DNA, a fragrance that's very similar to Afnan Turati Blue as well. Compared to the Afnan, this feels slightly fresher, a bit more fruity, citrusy in the opening. On the dry down, they're almost identical. Performance wise, they're very close with Turati Blue, which makes this one a very good performer. Projection, I think the Turati Blue is slightly louder compared to the Alkiam Silver, but this is a good projector as well. Complement factor again very high, like with the Afnan Turati Blue. Alright, so we're done with the Lattafas, and now time for a few Armaf fragrances. The first one is going to be the Armaf Trenouille. This is of course the Armaf's take on a green Irish tweed, that DNA from Crete. Compared to green Irish tweed, to my nose, this feels a little bit more floral, let's call it that way. It's a little bit harsher, especially in the opening. Some people, like me including, may think that the opening of the Trenouille can feel a bit synthetic. The dry down is a lot more pleasant, a lot closer to green Irish tweed. Price wise, of course, Crete being a niche house with very high pricing, the Trenouille is like costs 1/10 of the price of the original one. So if you like that DNA, that clean, sort of a springy, forest feeling type of DNA, the Trenouille is a good alternative. I also like the bottle shaped, if only it didn't have that fake leather color around it. The second Armaf fragrance in this video is going to be the Club de Nuit Urban Man Elixir. Now this is sort of an original creation by Armaf, although they were heavily inspired by a few different fragrances. To my nose, this feels like 60% Sauvage EDP DNA, 30% Sauvage EDT DNA, and 10% Club de Nuit Intense Man DNA. You get that Sauvage EDP sort of a vibe from it. It lacks a bit of that spiciness from the EDT, but you still pick up some nuances from the Sauvage EDT in here, and also some fruity notes have been added. Some pineapple notes being added here too, just so that you don't forget their bestseller, the Club de Nuit Intense Man. Super versatile fragrance. A mass-pleasing type of scent profile that is going to get you a lot of compliments. Performance is very good, projection very good, price tag very good. The second to last fragrance in this video is going to be the Armaf Club de Nuit Iconic. I absolutely love the way this bottle looks. This is a fragrance that's heavily inspired by Bleu de Chanel EDP. The opening misses a bit, it's a bit off the mark compared to the Bleu de Chanel EDP. You still get that citrusy opening, but it doesn't feel as fresh as the one with the BDC EDP. The dry down gets closer to the original one. You get that citrusy and woody mix. It just lacks that a bit of that creaminess that the original Bleu de Chanel EDP has. On the other hand, though, this has better performance compared to Bleu de Chanel. It has a better projection as well. Price wise, after the hype for this one has settled a little bit, you can find it pretty much for a decent price, for around about $45 to $50. A very good offering and creation from the house of Armaf, the Armaf Club de Nuit Icon. And the last fragrance in this video, the last fragrance from Armaf, is going to be, of course, the Club de Nuit Intense Man. Probably the most famous clone in the history of clones. Absolutely fantastic offering from the house of Armaf. Their take on the original Crete Aventus DNA, super popular fragrance, a bestseller for Armaf, and for a good reason. Super versatile fragrance, fantastic performance, fantastic projection, and fantastic complement factor to it. The EDP, the limited edition Parfum, the pure Parfum, I think are better compared to the EDT, but it doesn't matter with which one you go, you cannot do wrong with the Club de Nuit Intense Man from the house of Armaf. The last fragrance for today, the Club de Nuit Intense Man. And so guys, in today's video I showed you a total of I think 16 cheap fragrances that in my opinion were great in the spring season. I hope that you found this video interesting. If you did, give it a like, subscribe to my channel, stay safe, and I'm gonna see you in my next video. Bye bye.